people continue to join us, but we will go ahead and get started. I'd just like to welcome everyone. My name is Sherry Cody. I'm president of the Shoreline Chamber of Commerce. Thank you all for being here today. Also, a huge thank you to the Lieutenant Governor Susan Bysiewicz, of course, and Deputy Commissioner Glendowlyn Thames from the DECD, Department of Economic and Community Development for the state of Connecticut. Thank you both, ladies, for being here today. For all of our attendees, please feel free to use the Q&A chat box if you would like to ask questions. I have muted everyone just to keep the background noise to a minimum as our guests are speaking. We are recording this, so we will be able to post it live on our website, a recorded version on our website after this meeting. And we are streaming live on Facebook. So if you are shy, please turn off your camera. And of course, keep yourselves muted so that we just don't have any background. What happened? Did you hear any of that?
So I think we lost you when you were saying, please keep yourself muted to keep down background noise. And then you
muted, right?
Okay, thank you. I don't know how that happened. That was odd. I just want to remind everyone before we jump into our topic of today, and I know that's very important to everyone on this call, that the holidays are coming. And a Small Business Saturday that takes place this year on November 28th. Please support, I have to say this as a Chamber of Commerce president, right? Please support your small businesses, your local businesses this year as you gear up for the holidays. This year more than ever, they really need our support. And so please think about that. Small Business Saturday is November 28th this year. So without further ado, I believe I'm turning it over to Glendowlyn Thames to kick us off. So Glendowlyn, it's all yours.
Great, thank you, Sherry, and thank you, Governor Bysiewicz, just for your ongoing leadership and support of the Department of Economic and Community Development as we continue to navigate a health crisis, but also an economic crisis. And so your leadership has really mattered and has really empowered our agency to do what we need to do to support our local economies and our small businesses. And so before I jump into the program and kind of eligibility and details around that, I just want to back up and set the table a bit on why we're doing this. We know our small businesses are heart and souls of our communities as well as our overall state economy. And we know that, close to $8 billion was injected into our economy through the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, the SBA EIDL disaster loans through, from March all the way through, midsummer. And that was necessary capital that organizations need to really sustain their operations and their businesses. And then it's been many months without access to additional dollars. And also there were many businesses that did not have access to those grants and forgivable loans, if you will. And so as we thought about sizing this, we really wanted to make sure we were impacting our smallest of small businesses, our Main Street, mom and pop businesses, and really trying to, give a shot in the arm, if you will, over the next, couple of months, recognizing that the state can't backstop the billions of dollars that is required to keep our businesses afloat, especially as we see the numbers going in the wrong direction, if you will, and that we need that partnership with our federal delegation, and our governor, lieutenant governor have aggressively been working with our federal delegation. We're very hopeful that there's movement that's going to come, and we're going to see another round of stimulus. And so when we designed this, we had that in mind. This was complementary to what we believe was coming and kind of that bridge, if you will. And so with that, we had two main policy goals: fund as many businesses as we could in a short period of time by December 30th, 2020. And really looking at our communities that have been disproportionately impacted by COVID. So as part of, the state designated process of economically challenged communities, there's about 25 of what the state classifies as distressed municipalities. Those are many of our urban centers and many of our smaller towns and more rural towns. that classify in that category. We have this all on our website. I'll make sure I give you all that information and point you to the right information. So don't worry about, taking notes at this point. But again, there's 25 of those communities, and we know that they have been disproportionately impacted due to COVID. They were challenged before COVID, and now with the onset of COVID, they've slipped further behind through unemployment, economic loss. And so of the 50 million, 50%, so 25 million, we are targeting to those distressed municipalities. 30% of our residents reside in these communities, and 50% of our people of color, our minority population, live in these communities. Again, so we really wanted to be targeted and intentional about equity, and really reaching our most underserved communities as far as the allocation of this $50 million. So jumping into some high level eligibility, right? So this program, again, is meant for our smallest of small businesses, so 20 or less full-time employees, or, so not and, or annual payroll of no less than 1.5 million as of December 31st, 2019. So you either have 20 or less full-time employees, or you have an annualized payroll of less than 1.5 million. So technically, if you have, no more than 1.5 million in annualized revenue, annualized payroll, you could have 25, 30 employees, if you will. So that's more of the measure than the 20 or less full-time employees, if you will. You've had to have been established as a business as of October 1st, 2019, and still active. You have to be able to demonstrate a 20% or more loss in revenue year to date as of September 30th, 2019, compared to January through September 30th of 2019. So essentially the first 3 quarters of last year, 2019, and the first 3 quarters of this year, 2020, you compare that year over year, is there a 20% or more loss? Because again, this is really designed for people who have been economically harmed due to COVID. You must be in good standing with DRS. And what this really means is, are you current, right? So do you have any outstanding liabilities, and are you current on those? Or if you do have outstanding liabilities, are you in a payment plan, and are you current with that payment plan? And again, this is as measured by December 31st, 2019. We understand this year is a wash, so we're not holding this year against you. We're really looking at the history of a small business and them being, a good tax-paying business, if you will, historically. Home-based businesses and sole proprietors are eligible. Those who have already received federal PPP, EIDL, and/or bridge loans are eligible. But the sticking point here is that if you did get an EIDL loan or a PPP forgivable grant, you can't use expenses that you've charged to that grant for this grant. So what that means in practice is, if you got a PPP forgivable loan in, say, May, and you used those funds for June and July's rent, you can't then come and say you're going to use this $5,000 that we're going to provide you for June and July. You can use it for September, October, November. So they have to be incremental, expenses that you at this point can't legitimately afford, for lack of a better word, but you can't kind of double dip. So that's really an important point. Everybody's eligible, but you just have to be careful on how you're accounting for their expenses and how you're going to use these grants and making sure you're not duplicating. We are very, very close to the application launch. I know this has been, everybody's probably on this webinar and just wants me to make an announcement right now. I know that is what people are expecting. And, from the beginning of, when we announced this with the governor 3 weeks ago, we said, we estimate the application to go live the week of the 9th. We are still in the week of the 9th, and we are hitting our deadline. And we are very, very close and making good progress. That's what I can tell people. But we have to make sure we get this right. We have to make sure the app is functional, the technical, pieces are working. I think everybody can understand that. That we're really trying to make sure everything is buttoned up, because we really only have one bite at the apple here, and the time pressures are really enormous, because essentially we're trying to fund 10,000, upwards of 10,000 businesses by December 30th. One-time grants of $5,000. So if you meet our eligibility requirements, a small business nonprofit, you will get a one-time grant of $5,000. And so we have a tall order here. We are using technology as our friend, but sometimes it can be our enemy as well. And we're going to work through that and navigate that. But we feel really good about where we're at, and that application will be launching very soon. So I just encourage everybody to stay up to date and check in business.ct.gov. Our hotline, 860-500-2333. Also, as part of our outreach, we are holding office hours. So there's a morning session, 8 to 9, then there's a noon lunch session, and then there's an evening session that is available. So if you have any further questions, please make sure you take advantage of those. And that's something that's been available all week and will continue to be available as we go through this process. When we do launch the application, it will be open for a window, right? So there will be an open date and there will be a close date. And that close date, is really dependent on how many applications we get, because honestly, if we get significantly oversubscribed, we're probably going to have to shut down the system, because it just becomes unwieldy, if you will. So I just want to put that out there. So make sure you're staying in tune, and the minute it goes live, that you put your application in as soon as possible. We've made this application very simple, very lean, because clearly we're trying to accomplish a lot in a very short period of time. And so from a customer perspective, we needed to make it simple, because we know, the burdens and the stress that our small businesses are under. And we didn't want to be having to ask you to upload, for all this information or what have you. So there's not, we're not asking for any attachments. I can tell you that, so everybody can breathe a sigh of relief, if you will. And we're really depending on an attestation approach. So, again, to the question, are you down 20% or more loss in revenue year over year? You have to be able to confidently answer that question, yes, in order to proceed as part of that eligibility. But at this point, we're not asking you for any demonstration of that. But you need to make sure you understand your books. You need to make sure that that information is, accurate, and you can confidently answer that question, yes or no. Because on the back end, we do reserve the right, because there will be a official grant agreement. We do reserve the right on the back end to come back and ask for records. How did you, receipts of how you expended money, because we do plan to do a certain threshold of audit, right? So we may do 10% audit of kind of the whole grant recipient pool, if you will. So that's a part of what you will sign. If you prevail through the process, you will sign a grant agreement that codifies all of this, if you will. So I just want to make that point very clear, because the application is very lean, but you have to still understand what your, books look like, and you are confidently answering the questions, because there's a lot of yes or no questions, if you will. And then on the administrative side, we're trying to make it, as automated as possible, and we're using, DRS or sister agency to verify information where they can. So that is a verifier that we're using from a state perspective, so everyone should know that as well. So I'll stop there. I know I went over a lot of information very quickly, but again, all this is on our site, business.ct.gov. There's a fact sheet. We've had webinars. There's recorded webinars that you can access. And again, we have office hours, but I will take any questions, or I'll hand it over to the Lieutenant Governor at this point if you want to jump in and add anything and say anything, and then we can probably take some questions.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, there I go.
Very
Okay.
good.
Excellent, excellent. Glendowlyn, thank you so much. And Sherry, the governor and I will be promoting Shop Small week, Thanksgiving week, encouraging people to start their holiday shopping. And we've been encouraging Shop Small every day since the pandemic started. So count on us for that. And I wanted to come and talk with your membership and continue the conversation that we've had. We started as we were trying to promote the bridge loans, the HEDCO loans, and the federal loans. And the governor and I have been in conversation with the Biden transition team, and we know that the federal government will be doing some further aid like CARES Act. We just don't know what it is, but we wanted, just like we did the bridge loans with DECD, we wanted to make sure that our small business owners, particularly women-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses and small businesses, had access to funding, and that's why we're doing this. And I wanted to go over some of the lessons learned. Glendowlyn has talked about what the program is consisting of what you have to be able to show, and that is that you have fewer than 20 employees, or that you have a payroll, a 2019 payroll of less than 1.5 million in order to get your grant of $5,000. And we know, because of the other bridge loan and HEDCO loans, or grant programs, that we're going to be inundated. We know that because we know businesses are struggling. So the question for your members is, how do you get prepared right now? And I look at every challenge as an opportunity. So this, if you don't have financial statements and access to that, this is an opportunity to start getting ready and prepare yourself, so that at the click of a button on your computer, you'll be able to do that. You know, you should have QuickBooks and all your expenses in that. This is an opportunity to get ready. So for some of your members, if they're sitting there going, oh my gosh, this is why I didn't get EIDL, this is why I didn't get PPP or the HEDCO loan, this is an opportunity. So how do you do that? I would say you should call the Women's Business Development Center. They help small business owners, whether you're a man or a woman. They have 10 business counselors that will literally be on the phone with you, helping you with QuickBooks, getting your financial statements in order. They are a huge resource. And so are our state of Connecticut small business assistance centers. I will tell you this, I went on a tour of small businesses after the HEDCO bridge loans and SBA and EIDL loans went out. And I will tell you that the people who had assistance from the WBDC were incredibly prepared. And I visited businesses who got their information from the WBDC and got assistance, and they got funding from every one of those programs, EIDL, PPP, the bridge loan, the HEDCO loans, and some even got loans, economic development assistance from their city or town. So if you need assistance, if you're not that savvy with financial statements, with QuickBooks, please give the Women's Business Development Center a call. Also call our small business assistance centers, and they will help you because I'll just give you two examples. We visited the Yoga Well for Women and in New Haven, and assistance, they got access to all the federal programs and both state programs. Make friends with them right away. They are a huge help in addition to your chamber, because they have these business consultants who are able to help you with writing a business, with helping you pivot. If you feel like because of COVID, you need to go in a new direction, they're amazing. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is the DECD hotline, 860-2333. They're great. Make use of the office hours. Those are helpful as well. And be ready. If this does go live, and it will go live probably sometime tomorrow, you know, and I don't have any inside information, Glenn, but this week, it's either today or tomorrow, so it's going to go live shortly. If the past is any indication, thousands of people are going to be trying to send stuff. So just get ready and apply. And I think that's it. And Glenn and I and Sherry are ready to answer any questions that folks might have.
Thank you very much. Would one of you just repeat the hotline phone number? I'd like to put it in the chat bar for everyone. It's 860-500-2333. Thank you. All right, we do have a list of questions. Thank you very much for your presentations thus far. We have Peter asking, and I think you can all see these questions as well. The early release descriptions for eligibility included a statement that read, business must have at least one non-owner full-time employee. I just want to be sure this is no longer one of the qualification criteria.
Glendowlyn?
Yep, I'm trying. Okay, there we go.
Can you hear me now? I was muted.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so that's no longer required. We're looking at your full-time employees.
So I think the question may be, Glendowlyn, what if you are the owner and it's just you and there are no other employees? Can you still apply for a $5,000 grant?
So sole proprietors and LLCs, you know, are eligible, and I should say LLCs with, you know, one, you know, non-owner or owner or what have you are eligible. And so we're really looking at how many full-time employees as reported to DRS, so your W-3s that you file, do you have on hand? And that and definitionally that means someone working 30 hours or more.
So a sole proprietor can apply?
Sole proprietors are eligible, correct.
And nonprofits are eligible, and I don't think there are any additional requirements, Glendowlyn, beyond what you already talked about, right?
Correct.
For the requirements, yeah, the employee, and we know that nonprofits have just been hit very, very hard.
Yes. So we have another question here. Someone, of course, thanking you for taking the time to do this presentation. Is there any information that our small businesses can be assembling now to prepare for the application? Lieutenant Governor, you touched upon this, you know, making sure people have their financial information ready and can answer the questions. And Glendowlyn, you mentioned that you will not be requiring attachments. But are there numbers that people will need to be putting on the application?
Absolutely, and great question. Because again, our approach with this application format is really one of attestation. So you're just, you know, attesting a lot of yes or no questions, or answers rather. And so at minimally, you will need to know, and again, here is whichever is applicable, because we know, like, you know, a sole proprietor doesn't necessarily have a state tax ID number, but they have a social security number. So social security number, your federal EIN number, your state tax ID number. And so this isn't your Secretary of State's number. This is the actual state tax ID number that's kind of in your right hand, top right corner, if you will, on your return, in a banking routing number. And this is very, very important. And this is one of those lessons learned. Because previously with the, you know, Recovery Bridge program, you know, there was a lot of human errors. There was a lot of human errors, and we actually had, you know, the luxury of time to go back and work with small businesses to kind of verify and fact check, you know, the right numbers or what have you. This time we don't have that luxury, right? And so you really have to make sure that you're putting in the right numbers, and you, again, write them out now, right? So you have them, so when the application goes live, you can literally just, like, you know, transcribe, because again, this is one bite at the apple, if you will. We're just, because of what we're anticipating as far as the volume, we're just not going to have time to go back and verify. We're just going to have to really churn through and move through the applications.
So to amplify what Glenn is saying, we had a lot of people who were applying through the Department of Labor for unemployment insurance, and they would put in the wrong Social Security number or the wrong bank routing number. So your Social Security number, or whatever you're going to be, the numbers you're going to be using, like the bank routing numbers, you got to be really, really sure that you're accurate. I'm a business lawyer by background, so my advice to apply for this, remember, the deputy commissioner said 10% may be audited, of these businesses may be audited. So if I were applying, or if you were my client and I was advising you, I'd say, okay, make sure you have documentation to show that your business was down, whatever the percentage was. If it's 30%, if it's 20%, make sure you have that documentation ready. Make sure you have the documentation from the Department of Labor of how many employees you have, so that you have a record of all the evidence that you need for each question that you answer, because you may, so later you may get audited. And if you do, you know, it could be 2 or 3 years from now, it could be a year from now, you're not going to want to have to go back and reconstruct, because it's easier now since it's close in time to the application. So please make a file for yourself that says, you know, audit a $5,000 grant on it, with all your documentation, documenting why you believe you're eligible, because, you know, you want to make sure that you are confident answering those questions, and that you have backup for what you say on the application.
Excellent advice. Thank you very much for that. And I hope everyone is listening and takes that advice to heart. It's very good. Glendowlyn, Peter's also asking, where will the application be posted once it goes live? Will it be on your website?
Yeah. So it's going to, so you can access it, and then you'll see the link for the CARES Act grant program. And then it's going to take you to the site. And we're going to embed the application link once it goes live. But then once you hit the application link, you are going to be moving to outside of the state site into another portal, which is administered by SoFi, our partner, our technology partner, if you will. And so people should, know the name SoFi. It's, interchangeable with DECD. That is our trusted third-party operator. They are a financial firm, financial technology online lender firm based out of California. We used them with the recovery bridge loan in the beginning, and coming back and helping us again, because they have the technology pipes and automation that we needed. We just wouldn't be able to do this scale and in this time without a partner like SoFi. So people should know the name SoFi. Don't be alarmed. That has been sanctioned by the state, and they are
very good. Thank you. We have a question here that part of his business is down 25%, part of it is up 15%. Would he qualify, and how does he calculate that?
Wow, it sounds like his average is 20%. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't want to get into. Yeah, but I think he should really talk to, you know, his accountant or tax professional, just or whoever does his numbers to run those numbers to make sure that, you know, he's hitting the 20% or more. I don't want to go in the weeds, if you will, with individual businesses at this point, not understanding all the
yeah,
dynamics.
so Glendowlyn, are you saying it's 20% of your total business? The revenue must be down on 20% for your.
It's gross. So what?
business?
So right. So what you report to DRS as far as your gross, you know, sales?
And for those specific questions, your hotline can address those, correct?
Yes, some of them they will be able to address, but again, once we start getting into the weeds of, you know, we're very, you know, we want to toe a line there, because people should be utilizing their professionals, and also we have the small business development centers, the BDC technical advisors who can help with that information, again, on a case-by-case, your unique circumstance.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Lori is asking if there are more applicants in the non-distressed areas than funds, how will the selection process be done? Is it first in, first out?
So it's 25 million to the non-distressed and 25 million to the distressed. So it's first in, first out, right, Glenn?
So we have not prejudged that yet, right? And so that's something that, you know, is in discussion, hasn't been a decision point yet. And so we really wanted to see what we got in first, and where we are before we started making those decisions.
Okay, so the answer is apply. Just everybody apply. When the application hits the streets, apply right away. We've already answered the question about whether there will be additional requirements for nonprofits. The answer was no. So we have Nanette asking how this grant will be reportable on the Connecticut income tax return for 2021. Is that a question that we can answer today?
So as again, we built this program using Federal CARES Act dollars, and there's, you know, limited guidance and ever-changing guidance. A lot of other states have, you know, stood up programs like this, so we've been using some of, you know, their best practices and what have you to inform ours. According to, you know, the current federal IRS guidance, this grant is taxable income because it is a grant, not a loan. So we should all kind of go with that for now. But again, they should consult with their tax attorney or
and Glenn, I'll just say that in the past, when DECD has given out grants along with their small business loans, those grants were treated as income. So consult with your tax professional, but I would assume it's income.
Yeah, again, these are federal dollars, so I'm going based off of the guidance from the Internal Revenue Services at the feds, and so this is taxable income. But again, just to make sure you are compliant, people should be talking to their tax professionals to make sure, you know, they are filing and can keep track of their information.
Thank you. We have one last question in the chat bar at the moment. So to our attendees, if you have any questions, now is your time, please, to put them in the chat bar so we can answer them. So this last question, Glendowlyn, is if our nonprofit has 0 employees but 2 independent contractors, do we meet the eligibility criteria?
So they're a nonprofit. They don't have any full-time employees.
It appears that way. 2 independent contractors, they would not be employees.
Yeah. So we're, again, the guidepost here is the employees, and again, we're definitionally that's someone that's an employee who's working 30 hours or more.
Yep. So Lori, I think to answer your question, no, you don't fit the criteria, but you can call the hotline too if you would just, like to verify that.
Absolutely.
So anyone else have any questions? Well, this is a terrific program that the state of Connecticut is offering. And, I'd like to thank on behalf of the small business community, DECD and leadership at the state. Thank you so much for offering this to our small businesses. I know that you will be inundated with applications, hoping that your system can hold up to the onslaught of applications that you'll get as soon as it hits the street. But thank you very much. Remember that WBDC, SBDC, and your chambers of commerce are available to help with guidance, and we can point you in the right direction. And so feel free to call on us and call the hotline that I put in the chat bar there for DECD. Any closing remarks from you, Glendowlyn or Lieutenant Governor?
Yeah, I would just say please stay close to the website. We are trying to update it frequently. We will be updating it very shortly regarding the launch time. So please keep your ears and eyes peeled. Again, we're almost there, and we're there very soon. So I think everybody will be getting some real positive news, and we'll be able to launch this baby very, very soon. But thank you, Sherry, for everything you're doing. Thank you to all the small businesses. Again, just all of, the navigation that you guys have had to go throughout this time is not lost on this administration, and it's not lost on me personally. And we really have tried to build programs and that are targeted with our limited resources. And this is, again, I know $5,000 isn't a lot of money, but I think to our smallest of small businesses, it really can make the difference between, again, re-upping on inventory, purchasing some, must needed equipment. I know people have had to take on additional costs to comply with Connecticut reopen sector rules. So again, that's $5,000 can definitely help. And this is a bridge because we are really, really holding out and praying that we are going to get that next round of stimulus very, very, very soon. But we're going to keep our ears to the pavement, keep hearing from our small businesses. That is going to continue to inform what we do and how we support. So thank you.
Thank you.
Sherry, thank you so much for everything you're doing. Thank you for having us. We appreciate this opportunity to promote this really important program. $5,000 can mean a lot to small businesses, and we hope everybody takes advantage of this opportunity. And it's just a great honor for the governor and I to represent the people of Connecticut. And we appreciate your time, and hope you all are successful when you put in your applications.
Yes, I am too. Thank you all for being here today, and stay tuned. The application will be available very soon. Thank you so much, ladies, for being here today and giving us more information about this wonderful program. Appreciate that, and onward and upward. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.